just after the inauguration. They did their first poll on public opinion of Trump in this second term, starting immediately after the inauguration. Literally, they had their first poll in the field the first full day Trump was in office, the day after he was sworn in. That is the definition of the honeymoon period, right? That's when you are at your high water mark in terms of what people are expecting from you and hoping for from you. But in that first Gallup poll of this presidential term, sort of shockingly, Trump was already underwater. In his first week in office.
There are, of course, a lot of lies that Donald Trump tells, but if you are a fan of this show, you know the one that irks me the most, the one I think is most important to call out in this moment in time, is that he won some overwhelming victory last year. That he has this tremendous and historic mandate. It's just not true. Donald Trump did not win a majority of the popular vote. Donald Trump did not win by 60%, and Donald Trump's approval rating against what he might have, you believe, is plummeting. And we have to treat him like that. And it's exactly what Rachel Maddow did in a call-out that is not only therapeutic, but infuriating Donald Trump. And we are going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we get into Rachel Maddow first, I'm going to listen to what Donald Trump thinks of his own APRO rating. And you are going to listen to her combat that lie.
I think so far we're very popular. I had an approval rating today of 71 and another one of 69. I have not heard of those numbers before.
I know this is not a very smart man in Donald Trump. This is not a guy who really has a good head for numbers, but 71%. Where did you hear that? Who gave it to you? I feel like, as we know, the Trump administration, Trump 2.0, is so full of the, Project 2025 installed yes, men from the Heritage Foundation, that they'll, of course, go along with whatever Donald Trump wants. But I think the yes men around him, like hyping him up, are also even worse this go around. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they actually gave him a piece of paper that just had a 71 scribbled on it, from no outlet or anything. They just want to get his feelings up, I don't know. But this is, of course, a big old lie, one that Rachel Maddow smacked down, and that has Donald Trump pretty furious.
Or so the data is in. It's been a month officially as of today for this new presidential term. And what the data says, sort of broadly, bottom line, is that the country kind of hates this guy. Yeah, I shouldn't say hate. It's not the right word. It's not a nice word. Maybe it's can't stand him. Or maybe I shouldn't characterize it at all. I'll show you the numbers. I will say we probably should have seen this coming. I didn't necessarily believe that it was coming this far, this fast, but, right out of the gate, Gallup did polling just after the inauguration. They did their first poll on public opinion of Trump in this second term, starting immediately after the inauguration. Literally, they had their first poll in the field the first full day Trump was in office, the day after he was sworn in. That is the definition of the honeymoon period, right? That's when you are at your high water mark in terms of what people are expecting from you and hoping for from you. But in that first Gallup poll of this presidential term, sort of shockingly, Trump was already underwater. In his first week in office, more Americans disapproved of him than approved of him. I mean, only by 1 point, but still, that's unheard of. That's a more than unusual thing in presidential polling. Gallup, in fact, said at the time that in the 70 plus years they have been doing presidential polling, Donald Trump is the only president for whom his approval ratings were underwater right at the start of his term in office, meaning more people disliked him than liked him. So in that first week Gallup poll, Trump was underwater, 47 approving, 48% disapproving. So that means he was coming in at -1. And like I said, that was something we haven't seen with any other president. And to me, actually, it was shocking enough that I didn't think it would stand. I thought that would be sort of an outlier. But now look at this. Gallup just did its follow-up poll, now 1 month into Trump being back in office, and his numbers have gotten worse. He's not -1 anymore. Now he's -6, which makes him, at this point in his term, not only the most disliked and unpopular president in 70-plus years of Gallup polling, Gallup says it actually puts him 15 points below the average polling for presidents. Again, over the last 72 years in which they have been doing this polling. At this point in a presidential term, 1 month in, the average is 15 points higher than where Trump is right now. Nobody has ever started off a presidential term this poorly in the eyes of the American people. I mean, all presidents are above water at this point in their presidencies, right out of the gate. Trump's the only one. Trump was underwater with the American public from day one, and since then he's been sinking like a cinder block in an ocean trench. I did not know to expect that. To be fair, part of the reason I'd expected that Gallup number might go up and not down is because Gallup's not the only game in town. There were other national, well-regarded quality polls that came out right at the start of Trump's term that did show him in positive territory. Not big positive territory, but still positive. Like, for example, the Quinnipiac poll, which came out in late January, right after Trump was sworn in. It showed Trump doing okay. I mean, not great, but in that poll, he was above water. He was +3. But now, though, again, 1 month in, that same poll, Quinnipiac, it's flipped. He has gone from +3 in his first week in office to -4 now. That is a quick turnaround for a poll that initially looked okay for him less than a month ago. It looked okay for him, now it looks terrible for him. Why is that? Well, it's because Trump's been doing stuff. And what the data shows is that almost every single thing he has done is soundly and clearly, and in some cases, wildly unpopular with the American people.
Of course he is the most unpopular president a month in American history. Why would that be a shock? He gave the keys to the car to the richest man in the history of the world to rip our government again. Who's not from here? By the way, I don't think that comes up enough to rip our government apart piece by piece to serve his own interests, to defend his company from the lawsuits that it faces, the corruption that it's constantly perpetrating, to put, of course, more money in his pockets. He loves doing that, and to just walk around like an idiot, like that's kind of what Elon does all the time, and people are fed up with it. And of course they're fed up with Donald Trump because he's not only allowing it to happen, but he is a big old part of it. I know he's the co-president, but technically he is the president. And the way that they're treating the people that they're firing in mass, the communities they're destroying with DOGE. Yeah, I don't think it makes him any more popular. Listen to what Jesse Waters has had to say about what DOGE is doing with its firings.
Thousands of bureaucrats woke up today to a big "you're fired." DOGE is dishing out spankings like daddy daycare. It's like going to your grandparents' house, throwing out their VCR and their stacks of tapes, just downloading Netflix for them. Here, Grandpa, you just hit this button here and press select. Even the holiday weekend couldn't slow DOGE down. There was a huge exodus over at the National Archives. Persnickety librarians were getting DOGE'd silly. The Dewey Decimal System's next. DOGE is a blessing from the heavens above.
Yeah, I don't think that if I got fired from my job and then I had to see Jesse Waters with a big old stupid smirk on his face with that dumb grin, like making a joke about laying off the librarians, and yeah, would I be pretty happy with Donald Trump, who promised to make my groceries and rent cheaper, and now it's what eggs are 300% more expensive and I'm out of a job, but I got the Gulf of America out of it. Like that was the trade-off. I don't think people would be very happy with that. And clearly they're not most unpopular president at this point in time in history. Not a shock to us. And if we continue to deliver the message against it, what will really come as a shock to Mr. 71% Donald Trump, what he believes is how these midterms are going to turn out pretty nicely, I'm thinking. And someone who talked about the message that we have to deliver to make sure that happens. This is James Garville, and I want to check that out right here.
I don't hear Democrats saying, you know what, we ought not be spending the American people's money this way. What say you?
I see you got USAID up there. They
That's
spend
correct.
$41 billion. They spend $41 billion. The federal budget is $6 trillion. I did the math, Sean. It actually comes to something like 0.014%. So take the $41 billion, put it against the $6 trillion, and see what you've done when your president is responsible for more federal debt than any president in the history of the United States. So I'll spot you the $41 billion. Now
take
we
it.
$5
I'll take it
billion,
and give it back.
998 billion, or whatever you got. Okay, I did the math on USAID. You got it right up there.
Okay, USAID
$41 billion
is
out of $6 trillion.
But Jay,
This is the not only messaging framework we have to keep going forward, but it's also just like the unapologetic nature in which we have to deliver it. We can't be soft about this. We can't be coy. We can't, well, you know, we do care about getting rid of waste, but there needs to be no throat clearing, no initial well, but no, stop. It cut it out. I don't want any prefacing. I don't want any of that. Dude's a criminal. Dude is corrupt. He's the co-president. He's high on ketamine all the time, and he's coming for your job, whether you're in the federal government or not. Elon and Trump, through their destruction of the economy, is going to cost you money, is going to cost you work probably, and is costing us all our sanity. I think that's a pretty clear message that we can deliver without any ifs, ands, or buts. They just say what is true, and it is that, over and over and over and over again for the next however many months it is until we boot these people out of the majority in the House and the Senate is that clear. Like, that's going to be our message. And listen to what Trump's is.
We have a fight with one news organization, AP, a radical left organization, treats us all very badly. And they refuse to acknowledge that the Gulf, former of Mexico, is now called the Gulf of America. So we just told them, we're holding them out of any news conferences. Now I'm sure they'll get sued and maybe they'll win, doesn't matter. It's just something that we feel strongly about. No, and I said we changed Mount McKinley. Nobody's fighting that. You're allowed to do it. Well, we're allowed to do. And most of the shoreline is, 85% of it is on our soil. But I thought it would be appropriate. I never understood quite the Gulf of Mexico when it really covers us far more. And I think Doug is a big believer in what we did, the Gulf of America. So we're having a little dispute, but only one. But Google Maps has already changed. Almost everybody's already changed. It's called the Gulf of America.
If we keep that message and it goes up against Gulf of America, I'm feeling pretty good about our chances. That gives me a little bit of hope that we certainly need right now, and it's what we're going to be talking about every single day on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, you leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around at the end, you drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.